Hello, my name is Dinesh Ahirrao, and in this session, I am going to discuss about very important topic of political science, and that is Aristotle's theory of citizenship. Well, before we discuss in detail Aristotle's theory of citizenship, we must understand what is citizenship. Well, citizenship basically is a two-way reciprocal relationship between the individuals on one hand and the state on the other hand. I repeat, in simple terms, citizenship entails two-way reciprocal relationship between individuals and the state. Well, in this definition, two terms are very important. So first is relationship. Yes, citizenship is a special kind of relationship between the individuals and the state. And the second important term in this definition, which I just gave you, is reciprocity. Well, what is the meaning of the term reciprocity? Well, when we say that a particular relationship is a reciprocal relationship, it means that the entities which are involved in that relationship, they have reciprocal rights and responsibilities towards each other. So when we say that citizenship is a two-way reciprocal relationship, it means that in this relationship, both individuals and state, they are bound by reciprocal rights as well as responsibilities. So when we say that citizenship is a reciprocal relationship, it means that individuals are expected to perform certain duties, obligations, and responsibilities towards the state, and state in turn is expected to perform certain duties and responsibilities towards the individuals. Let me explain this further. In the relationship of citizenship, individuals, they must owe their allegiance and show their loyalty towards the state. And state in turn must provide protection, safety, and security to the individuals, as well as protect the civil, political, social, and cultural rights of the individuals. So this is the meaning of the term reciprocal relationship. So let me tell you the definition of citizenship once again. So citizenship is not a one-way traffic. It is not a one-way relationship. The citizenship is a two-way relationship between an individual and state, both of which are bound by reciprocal rights and responsibilities. So this is the concept of citizenship. I hope it is clear to you. Well, here note that even though the concept of citizenship is one of the foundational concepts of political science, yet there is a lack of agreement amongst various political philosophers and scholars regarding the form, content, extent, scope, etc. of the concept of citizenship. It means that there is lack of universal agreement amongst academicians about the definition of citizenship as well as its form and scope. And that is why the concept of citizenship is complex and deeply contested and debatable concept. It is not a simple concept. Don't make this mistake of understanding citizenship in a very simpler terms. Yes, I did tell you the definition of citizenship in simple terms, but always note that concept of citizenship is a complex concept. Now, let's move forward and discuss the main topic of this discussion, and that is Aristotle's theory of citizenship. Well, we know that Aristotle was one of the finest political thinkers of Greece. He was a student of another finest political philosopher, Plato. Well, it was the Aristotle who for the first time made a systematic attempt to give a theory of citizenship. So, the concept of citizenship was explained for the first time systematically by the Aristotle. And Aristotle explained his theory of citizenship in his magnum opus, Politics. So he wrote a book, Politics, and in that Politics, he explained his views about citizenship. Well, before we understand Aristotle's theory of citizenship, it is very important to understand Aristotle's views on state. According to Aristotle, state is an association of freemen. And Aristotle considers state as the most important institution in human life. In fact, Aristotle said that state comes into existence for the sake of life and continues to exist for the sake of good life. So according to Aristotle, state is very important institution for individuals. According to him, state is very important for individual to ensure their fullest development of their personalities. In fact, he went further and argued that those who can live without the state can either be God or beast. They cannot be human beings. So for him, state was a natural institution. State is very important to ensure the fullest potential and all-round development of human personality. Second important thing to be remembered is that Aristotle said that all human beings are political animals. He said that man by nature is a political animal. So it means that according to him, it is very natural for individuals to be a part of state. In fact, he went further and said that state is prior to the individual. State is a natural institution. Now, after understanding the role and importance of the state, Aristotle moves further in his book Politics and discusses about the idea of citizenship. Now let us understand what are the views of, or what were the views of Aristotle as far as citizenship is concerned? Well, Aristotle first starts with or begins with who should not be considered as the citizens. Meaning to say, Aristotle first provides us an information about on what basis citizenship cannot be granted. So, first is Aristotle argues that citizenship cannot be based upon residence. Residence cannot be a criteria to define citizenship. Why he says so? Because he says that everyone resides in a state or a city-state. Mere residence cannot be a criteria of granting citizenship. Because he says that even foreigners, they reside in the state or a particular defined territory, and they cannot be considered as citizenship. Or they cannot be considered as citizens, sorry. So first, he says that citizenship cannot be granted on the basis of residence. Second, he argues that citizenship cannot be based on availability of legal protection or availability of legal rights. Why? Because he says that legal rights are even available to foreigners as well as residents or the citizens. For example, if two individuals, they enter into a contract, it means that they are entering into a legal relationship. And if any party to the contract violate that contract, then the individuals whose rights are violated under the contract, they have legal rights or legal protection under the law of the land. So legal rights means a right of suing and being sued in turn. So Aristotle argues that citizenship cannot be based on availability of legal protection or availability of legal rights, because legal rights are available or should be available to everyone, irrespective of whether the people are citizen or not. Third, he argues that citizenship cannot be based on birth. According to him, citizenship cannot be based on descent. So, descent from citizen parent cannot be the basis of defining who are the citizens or who should be the citizens. Why? Because he says that first we have to determine whether the parents or the grandparents of the individual, they are citizens or not. So, before granting citizenship on the basis of birth or descent, we must answer or go back one step and answer on what basis the parents should be given citizenship. And that is why, according to him, citizenship cannot be based on birth. So, to sum up, according to Aristotle, citizenship cannot be based on residence, availability of legal rights or legal protection, and it cannot be based on birth or descent from citizen parent. Now, after explaining what cannot be or should not be the qualification for defining who would be the citizens, Aristotle now argues that citizenship should be based on the functions performed by the individuals. So he ties the idea of citizenship with the functions performed by the individuals. Now, since he ties the idea of citizenship with functions to be performed, Aristotle's theory of citizenship is also called as functional theory of citizenship. Note this point. Now, what does it mean? Well, Aristotle argues that citizens are those who have power and capacity to participate in the deliberative and judicial functions of the state. I repeat, according to Aristotle, citizens are those who have power, capacity, capability to participate in the deliberative and judicial administration of the state. To state this in simple terms, according to Aristotle, citizens are those who participate actively in the lawmaking, in law implementation, as well as in the adjudication of laws. So according to him, citizens are only those who have power or capability to participate actively in the political life of the state. So he ties the concept of citizenship with the ethic of civic participation or participation in social and political life. So for him, only those who have capability to participate actively in social and political life of the state will be considered as citizens. Now, after saying this or arguing this, Aristotle further argues that not everyone has power or capacity to participate actively in the political and civic affairs of the state. He argues that to participate actively in the political and civic affairs of the state, two conditions must be fulfilled, or two grounds must exist in order for an individual to participate actively in the political affairs. These two grounds are: number one, existence of moral and intellectual existence of moral and intellectual excellence, and second is leisure. Now let me explain this. So Aristotle argues that only those who have moral and intellectual excellence as well as leisure, they can participate actively in the deliberative and judicial functions of the state. Not everyone can participate actively in the political affairs of the state. For him, in order to participate or in order to be capable to participate in the civic life as well as political life of the state, individual must have civic virtues and they must have moral and intellectual excellence. They must be intellectually capable. They must be morally capable to participate into the political affairs. And for him, not everyone have civic virtues. Not everyone have moral or intellectual excellence. Second, to participate in civic and political affairs, individuals must have leisure. Now, leisure means free time. See, he did not use the term leisure as relaxation or a luxurious activity. No. He used the term leisure as availability of free time. So he argued that to participate actively in the civic and political affairs of the state, individuals, they must have leisure or free time. Then only they can participate actively, right? Without free time, nobody can participate in the political affairs. It is very logical. So he bases the criteria of citizenship on the basis of capability to participate actively in the political or civic affairs of the state. And further, he based the capacity to participate actively in the civic and political affairs of the state on two grounds. First, moral and intellectual excellence, and second, leisure. Now, based on this, Aristotle defines citizens are those who can share political power. He defines citizens are those who share in ruling and being ruled in turn. Now, I told you that he provides two grounds in order to an individual to participate actively in the politics. These two grounds are moral and intellectual excellence and leisure. Now, he argues that not everyone have these two qualities. And based on this, Aristotle excludes following sections of people from the definition of citizens: women, slaves, children, old age people, manual and menial workers. So it means that Aristotle excludes women, slaves, children, old age people, manual and menial laborers, or those who are workers. He also excludes foreigners, and it is very natural that he excluded foreigners from the definition of citizenship. So it means that Aristotle denies citizenship to women, slaves, children, old age people, workers, and foreigners. Meaning to say, Aristotle excludes majority of the population from the definition of citizenship. Now let me explain each of this section of population and the logic of their exclusion given by Aristotle. So first, Aristotle denies citizenship to women. Why? Because he argues that women, they are inferior to men. according to Aristotle, women are always dependent on men. Women are not independent. They are dependent on men. And that is why they lack authority or capability to take independent decisions. He further argues that women lack rationality or reason. And that is why they lack moral and intellectual excellence. Next, he argues that women, they are too busy in their household chores. So they do not have free time or leisure. And we have just seen that Aristotle provides two conditions for an individual to participate actively in the political affairs. That is moral and intellectual excellence and leisure, both of which are lacked in women. That is why he excludes women from the definition of citizenship. Then he excludes slaves. He denies citizenship to slaves. Why? Because like women, slaves are very busy in serving their masters. Like women, slaves are dependent on their masters. Like women, slaves do not have rationality or capability to think logically. So slaves, they lack moral and intellectual excellence. They also lack leisure or free time. They are too busy in serving their masters. And that is why he excludes slaves from the definition of citizenship. In fact, Aristotle justified the institution of slavery. For Aristotle, slavery was a natural institution. He believed, like Plato, in natural inequality between human beings. He did not consider all human beings as equal. He stated that from the hour of their birth, some are marked out for subjection and others to rule. So he says that from the hour of their birth, some individuals, they are bound to be subjected. They are inferior. And others, they have natural inborn capability of ruling. So he justifies the institution of slavery. So he not only excludes slaves from the definition of from the definition of citizenship, he justifies the inhuman and barbaric institution of slavery. In the other lecture, we are going to discuss about the Aristotle's views on slavery in detail. But as of now, just remember that he excludes slaves from the definition of citizenship. Then he excludes children as well. Why? Because according to him, children are immature. They are not complete human beings. Then he also excludes old age people from citizenship. Why? Because of their infirmity of body as well as mind. So according to Aristotle, old age people are physically too weak to participate actively into the affairs of the state. They lack energy and physical fitness, which is required in order to participate actively in the political affairs of the state. Then he excludes workers, manual and menial laborers or workers from the citizenship as well. Why? Because workers and laborers, they are too worried about their economic needs. They are not economically independent. So they do not have leisure or free time. They have to work in order to earn their livelihood. And that is why they lack capability to participate actively in the deliberative and judicial functions of the state. Then he excludes foreigners as well. Why? Because he argued that foreigners, since they are the citizens of other state, they cannot be trusted. In fact, Aristotle denied citizenship to non-Greeks because he considered non-Greeks as barbaric. So he believed in racism as well, in fact. For him, Greeks are racially superior to non-Greeks. So this is how Aristotle excludes majority of the population from his definition of citizenship. So broadly speaking, this is the theory of citizenship given by Aristotle. Now let us discuss the critical evaluation of Aristotle's theory of citizenship. Well, you must have realized that since Aristotle excludes majority of the section of the society from the definition of citizenship, Aristotle's theory of citizenship is undemocratic, narrow, and exclusionary theory. Why undemocratic? Because Aristotle did not give citizenship to everyone. See, we know that equality is the hallmark of the concept of citizenship. In fact, one of the famous definitions of the citizenship, which was given by T.H. Marshall in his book Citizenship and Social Class. And that is, according to T.H. Marshall, citizenship is a full and equal membership of a political community. So the notion of equality is inherently linked with the concept of citizenship. The concept of citizenship is based on the foundation of equality. And Aristotle does not believe in or did not believe in equality. He believed in natural inequality. And that is why his theory of citizenship is undemocratic. His theory of citizenship is exclusionary as well. It is narrow and it is undesirable. It doesn't have any relevance as far as exclusion of the majority of the sections of society from the citizenship is concerned. Then, feminists, they have criticized Aristotle's theory of citizenship as extremely patriarchal theory of citizenship. Why? The reason is simple, because he believed in subjugation of women by men. Meaning to say, he believed in natural subordination of women to men. He did not believe in equality between men and women. And that is why we have seen that he denies citizenship to women. Why? Because he considered women as irrational, or they lack rationality or reason. But we know that this is outdated concept. We know that every individual is equal. Men are not superior to men. Both are equal. And that is why Aristotle's theory of citizenship is criticized as patriarchal theory. Then, Aristotle's theory of citizenship is also elitist theory. Why? Because he limits this citizenship only to a few privileged people. According to Aristotle, citizenship was a privileged status to be enjoyed by propertied class. It was not available to everyone. He believed in superiority of some individuals over the others. For example, he believed in superiority of masters over slaves. So that is why his theory is criticized as, rightly criticized as, elitist theory. Then Aristotle focuses only on duties as far as citizenship is concerned. For him, citizenship is only about duty towards state. That is duty of participating actively. He did not focus on importance of rights of citizens. So these are some of the criticisms of Aristotle's theory of citizenship. Now, does it mean that Aristotle's theory of citizenship is completely irrelevant? Does it mean that Aristotle's theory of citizenship is completely useless and must be discarded? The answer is no. Why? So what is the relevance of Aristotle's theory of citizenship in modern times? Well, understand that, yes, there are some elements of Aristotle's theory of citizenship which are outdated and undemocratic, and they are undesirable. They are not true, or they cannot be, they cannot be hold true in the modern society, which is based on principles of justice, equality, liberty, fraternity, democracy, so on and so forth. But there are certain positive aspects of Aristotle's theory of citizenship. So what are they? Well, Aristotle rightly argued in favor of active citizenship. According to Aristotle, citizens, they are not mere passive recipient of government benefits. Citizens, they have duty to participate actively in the political and civic affairs of the state. Now, this idea of active citizenship, it is still relevant in the 21st century. Because we know that citizens, they are not mere passive recipient of the government schemes and programs. The citizens, they must be active participant in various affairs of the state. So Aristotle visualized proactive and vigilant citizenry, which is essential to ensure the transparency and accountability in the governance. And this idea of proactive and vigilant citizenship envisaged by the Aristotle in 4th century BC is still relevant today. In fact, the active participation of citizens in the affairs of the government is one of the most important prerequisites of good governance. So good governance cannot exist without active participation of citizens. We as citizens, we must not only participate once in a 5-year through voting. No, citizenship cannot be reduced to say voting or passive participation. Citizenship is an active participation. It is a responsibility and duty. So it is the Aristotle who laid the foundation of active citizenship. It was the Aristotle who laid the foundation of participatory citizenship, which is important element of participatory democracy. And that is the relevance of Aristotle's theory of citizenship. Second, more often than not, we focus only on rights associated with citizenship. More often than not, people ignore the duties of citizenship. So understand that citizenship is not only about enjoyment of rights. Citizenship is equally about performance of one's duty towards the state, towards the society, and towards fellow citizens. And Aristotle realized the importance of duty of citizens towards the state. Yes, he overemphasized the importance of duties as compared to rights, but rights as well as duties, they are equally important elements of the concept of citizenship. In fact, rights and duties, they are two sides of the same coin. So citizenship is equally about rights as well as duties. Third, Aristotle spoke about civic virtues. He spoke about certain duties to be performed by the citizens towards the state. He envisaged good citizenry, a virtuous citizenry, and thereby laid the foundation of strand of what is called as civic republicanism. Civic republicanism is a strand of political philosophy which focuses on civic virtues and active participation or good citizenry. In fact, it is based on the Aristotle's theory of citizenship. The idea of civic republicanism was developed by future thinkers who came or wrote after Aristotle, namely Cicero, Machiavelli, Hannah Arendt, so on and so forth. So in this sense, Aristotle inspired the thinkers of the political science who wrote and developed their own theories of citizenship. In fact, every philosopher who gave their own theory of citizenship first read and analyzed and looked into the Aristotle's theory of citizenship. So in that sense, as told before, Aristotle was the first political scientist who systematically explained the concept of citizenship and thereby contributed to the knowledge and theory about the concept of citizenship, which is very relevant concept in recent times. So it means that yes, Aristotle's theory is outdated in some areas, but it is useful, it is relevant in some areas as well. Aristotle's theory of citizenship is not completely useless and not completely outdated. There are some elements of usefulness or relevance in the Aristotle's theory of citizenship. So in that sense, Aristotle contributed a lot in broadening the horizons of the discipline of political theory, particularly the concept of citizenship. I hope it is clear. So students, in this lecture, we have discussed about the concept of citizenship in general. Then we discussed about Aristotle's theory of citizenship. And in the end, we discussed about critical evaluation and relevance of the Aristotle's theory of citizenship. I hope you enjoyed this session. Well, let me give you one homework. Write down. Do you think that Aristotle's theory of citizenship is relevant in 21st century? Give arguments in favor of or against the Aristotle's theory. Or you might get a question about what was the contribution of Aristotle as far as theory of citizenship is concerned. So please go home and try to write answer on these two questions. I hope based on our discussion, you will be able to write those answers. So anyways, this is it for today. Thank you so much.